Hi, I'm Nick. Like the sign says, I make infrastructure boring on purpose. What does that mean? That means I've spent 21 years turning chaos into calm. I'm a staff to principal level platform and site reliability engineer. I've been a DevOps engineer, a system admin, software engineer, you name it. I've done it. Basically, my career is very, very weird. I have spent 21 years running around from the defense industry and the army to K through 12 schools to higher education to enterprise rent a car at one point, brief stint there, streaming services, broadcasters, advertising agencies, you name it, software as a service startups, robotic startups, Internet of Things startups, safety controls. Um, you name it. If it involves technology, I love doing it. And, if you want to find out more about all that, please come visit me at nicholas-a-hall at github.io. Um, you can read all about my super awesome adventures regarding technology and how I use it and what I do with it. Um, and download my CV while you're there. You know, uh, always looking for work, always looking for new problems to solve. So definitely here to help you out with anything you need. Uh, so that's me. That's who I am, and I don't really want to spend forever talking about my resume. I want to talk about what I think has been just the most interesting thing about my career over the last 90 days. And I just really want to share it with the world, but I want to do it visually if I can. Um, Probably the most interesting thing about me is that I'm the only platform engineer that I know um, who owns his own bowling center. And it's been an incredibly wild journey. And I'd like to get into it just a little bit. So here we go. My bowling center is called Lunar Lanes, and it's a small 8-lane bowling center in the middle of a small town Midwest community called Hillsboro, Illinois. And Hillsboro is one of the most amazing places I've ever had the pleasure of being around. There are artisans and craftsmen and tradesmen and professionals who come together for a cause, and for us, that cause has been Lunar Lanes. We found it in a pretty rough condition, and we're still pretty rough, um, but we're getting better. We're improving it step by step. And being a longtime software and hardware engineer, I wanted to see how I could use my skills to benefit my own business. And that's kind of what I've been doing recently. The picture before you is it's our lane management dashboard. And this is an active service right now at Lunar Lanes, and it solved a problem for us. You see, as a small literal mom and pop business, it's just myself, my girlfriend, and our kids who help where they can. We run the day to day operations, and when we're sick, the business is sick. When we have an appointment, the business is shut down. Um, so given that there's only two of us that run the place, we need software utilities to step in and fill the gaps where we otherwise couldn't. Excuse me. That's where this comes in. So there's 60 feet that separate us, and we want our bowlers to feel like we care about their game just as much as they do. One market trend that we've seen in the bowling industry is that it's not that open bowling doesn't make money, it's just that it doesn't make money consistently. And the reason for that is you don't get a lot of retention and you don't tend to get a lot of dwell time. Since we took over Lunar Lanes, we wanted to really make it feel like we wanted to feel like we were an extension of your living room or the cool neighbors that happen to own a bowling alley. And we've done a good job at bucking the national trend where open bowlers don't create repeat business. We actually see the same faces over and over and over again. And we're not officially sanctioned yet, which is incredible to me. We can't run leagues at the moment because we're in active restoration process. So we're actually, by focusing on the look and feel and the customer service and the care and the comfort aspect, we're finding that casual bowlers do come back. They do visit us over and over again, and they do enjoy themselves every single time. Now, how does software help us do that? It helps us. It starts with making sure that the experience never requires the bowler to come find somebody to come fix something. If their bowling stops, um, we immediately know about it. And like I say, 60 feet separates me and Bobby, front from back. And I need to immediately know what's wrong and understand what's going on at a glance. And so this utility tells us everything we might need to know. So as you can see, lane 1 here, I've simulated what looks like the beginning of a Friday for us, right? Lane 1 here is in maintenance mode, so it's offline. Lane 2 is in active service, and we've got a group on lanes 2 and 3, which is actually kind of weird because they should be scheduled on a pair themselves, which would be 3, 4 here. But in this case, we've got 4 bowlers who scheduled 3 hours on lane 7, and they haven't paid yet. We've got on lane 6, we've got 6 bowlers for 1 hour. They came in at 1:09 p.m. We expect them off the lane around 2:15. So these immediately tell us, what's going on with our lanes at a glance. And there's a timeline view so that when we're full up, we can tell people with pretty good confidence how long they're going to be waiting for a lane. Additionally, we can feed this into our AI assistant that answers the phones. And this data actually informs bowlers before they ever even get in their vehicle when is a good time to come bowling with us. And so by taking special attention to those creature comforts and that care, and building software around it, we create an experience that is difficult to reproduce. So on my side of it, I see this on a big digital sign that's hanging overhead in the back of the building. And I look up at this and I say, wow, lane 2 needs my help. I need to go over there right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my tablet and I'm going to acknowledge that. And they're going to see immediately, hey, look, Nick's taking care of it. No problem, right? But lane 3 has a problem as Nick's working on that. So I can see I still need to get to this one. I'm already working on this one. And the bowler knows what's happening too. As you can see, in a kiosk view, which we haven't actually deployed yet, but it's coming within the next 30 days. It is ready now. It functions. We just have to put some extra polish on it. The cool part is it shows the bowler what we're doing. It shows them, hey, Nick's responding. Give it a second. If they try to spam this, you already have a call active. We're not going to let you spam us. But we are going to tell you, hey, yeah, we're on it. We're going to take care of it. I have one of these built for each lane pair. And you can see, hey, we saw what happened to your thing. We initiated service. Please wait. And you can see there's a service call already active. Now, let's open lane 4. There are 4 bowlers. They want 2 games. Open it. And they paid. As you can see, lane 4 went active on my status board. And I expect them to close at 5:44. On their side, hey, their pin setter is ready to rock and roll. Let's say they want to add another game. They can do that. And my manager sees that they did that. And they need to pay for it. Boom. Right there. So anyway, the point of this is this was all coded with AI assistance, right? I built an initial skeleton and lined out its functionality and made something that worked at a very basic level, and then expanded it using my own architectural knowledge and my own experience to create very small, limited context components that I then functionally stapled together on my own. And I kept doing that in a cycle until eventually I got this. And to me, this is a piece of software that doesn't exist for my industry. But because I had AI and because I had the experience and knowledge, I was able to go out and solve a real problem for my business. Well, at the same time, here's our mechanic view, and it will tell me which lanes are currently occupied, how many of them, do I have any reservations coming up, and that's all tied into a Google Calendar. I built this in about 2 weeks, and the great part about it is a full stack application. It uses Redis as an event bus. It uses, I believe it's a basic state tracking machine written in Python is what the backend really is under the hood. So this is all exposed with an API or a direct event bus call. And configuration data is stored in MongoDB, which is just a basic document store. It's all wrapped up into Docker Compose. It's containerized, which means I can ship this around, and I have. It runs on a server in the back of the bowling alley, and it just quietly sits there. It's portable. It runs anywhere I need it to, and I can modify it easily for whatever I need to, which is a very interesting use of the technology. Right, so that's a lot. As a site reliability engineer, I hate it when a system can't measure how well it's performing. And to that end, I started developing a wiring harness for our Brunswick A2 pin setters. The interesting part is the Brunswick A2 was invented in the 50s and first manufactured in, I believe, 57, if not 58. These machines are approaching or exceeding 70 years old. They have large, anywhere between 4 to 16 pound balls launched at them no less than 20 times per game per person, all day, every day, and have been doing it for 70 years, and they still care about millimeter level tolerances. As an engineer, that is incredible. Nothing I have ever built will surpass that level of reliability. However, they do still have their problems, and I don't like a machine that can't measure itself. So I started using ESP32s, a handful of varied sensors electronics, and a set of optocouplers to take in input signals from the few things the machine does know about itself, in addition to commercial off-the-shelf. I can buy it at Micro Center or Adafruit or pick your poison. Pick your vendor, grab an ESP32, flash it with firmware, and now the machine is observable. We simply have to present it. So what I did here was, I don't know React. I'm learning it, and I needed a better understanding to start developing these tools on my own without the assistance of AI. So in this case, I used it in 2 ways. One, I used it as a tutorial for React, to where I could build something functional, and it would teach me along the way using blog posts and internet sources and tutorials as a point of reference. I made it quote things. I made it go tell me, hey, we know that you hallucinate and happily make things up and present it as truth all the time, AI, especially if I'm not keeping an eye on your context window. Therefore, I want you to be able to prove and back up everything you tell me. So I'm using the tool, understanding its limitations, and using it to guide me in my own pursuits here. And what I did here, the second interesting thing, was realizing that an AI is nothing more than a vector database under the hood and a series of very complicated math equations and algorithms. Essentially, I wanted to take a layer out of the translation process. So I built something that's hard to describe with text, right? And that's these pinwheels and interfaces, right? I went into a vector drawing program, which is Affinity Designer, actually. I went into Affinity and I kind of sketched out each one of these components. And I labeled each layer. This is a pulley. This is an idler wheel. This is a belt. This is a motor. And I labeled them as such. When I imported that SVG, because that's just a series of labeled vectors, which is the same exact shape that the LLM uses to even communicate with you. So I used SVG as a translation matrix layer. Too much Star Trek, y'all. So I used SVG as a translation layer to help simplify the task. And once I got something that functioned, I made it explain. Take it back to the tutorial territory. Explain to me how we make this work. How do I animate this? What do I do? When I didn't understand something, I said, please explain this to me in greater detail. Go find me sources. Let me read and validate what you're telling me. The long story short is each one of these is its own React component with its own context and its own README. It's atomic in nature. It only does one thing, and it takes in information from the outside world through a series of props. I've built, since I don't have the data available just yet, I've built a simulation harness that feeds the props with nonsense data so that I can actually test the functionality here. I think this is a great way for junior engineers to utilize Agentic AI because you're not replacing the junior engineer with Agentic AI, you're enhancing that engineer. You are using it as one part tutorial, one part guide, while acknowledging the limitations of the utility and considering that we have to keep the context windows small. We have to do the thinking on our own and the creativity on our own. We simply use the AI to enhance what we're already good at. So I'll get off my soapbox there. As I started collecting data from our pin setters and from our lanes, I thought, wouldn't it be great if I showed this to our league bowlers on a league night? They're very sports people. They're very competitive. They're very much people who care about the total pinfall and how striky was my game tonight, and did I do better in the second round or the first, and who is in the lead. So we built a dashboard that made our bowlers feel like ESPN participants, like they were being highlighted on national television, and we intend to show this to them on digital signs throughout the facility anytime there's a league night. Further, our existing league technology, it outputs data in a format that we can consume however we like, and so I can even replay a bowling match that you weren't present for in an accelerated way on these dashboards. And I think, we haven't launched it yet, but I think our bowlers are going to love it. Sadly, here's the downside. All of this took time and money, and it's time to return to the day job. I need to get my benefits going again. I need to get a more stable salary coming in because we are still lacking in staff, which means our hours are unstable. We do not have a liquor license at the moment, which means some bowlers refuse to come see us in the first place. And our snack bar is not online yet because we have a little bit more work to do to get licensed. All of these things require money. All of them require time and effort. Back to work I go, and thus Quarry was born. As I've gone from job to job, I have trouble sometimes keeping track of where I've applied to and how long it took them to reply and how many interview rounds can I expect. I wanted almost a CRM built specifically for job leads, and so I built one. At this point, I can filter out where I've applied to, how did it come in, things of that nature. I can track my job search, and More importantly, analyze. I've applied to this many. I have a 33% response rate. I have a 6% interview rate. I can see these trends in real time. I can map them as a plot over time. And I can even export a summary to LinkedIn at the push of a button if I want to be an influencer. And the interesting part is this is all local storage. This is all stored in your browser cache. So you save by exporting a JSON file, and you load by pasting it. At no point does the data ever leave your browser. This is yours. It is a flat HTML file, and I open sourced it because I thought it was interesting, and I thought someone else might think it was interesting too. From there, to assist with my own job search, I wanted to automate this, so I built a bot that takes my JSON, reads my emails, uses AI to summarize and figure out what's where, and then loads it back into Quarry for me, so that twice a day I get updates on my job search without necessarily feeling the sting of another job rejection or, sorry, we couldn't find a place for you. The job market is difficult. To that end, I built Assay. I wanted to, right, so Quarry is mining themed, so is Assay. Quarry tells you the output of your mining operation. Assay tells you where to mine. And so Assay is a job search marketing it's a job market analyzer. It helps you understand what jobs you should be targeting. Are you targeting the right jobs? What can you expect to make? How long can you expect to wait? How competitive is the landscape? And so on. So for example, using real data, because again, we don't trust the AI to tell us the truth. We make it back its nonsense up every single time. Because if we're going to take action on an AI's data, it needs to be right, and we need to be able to prove it. So this is the sources that come from this. And what do we find? We find that the software engineering market showing bifurcated signals heading into Q3. Senior individual contributor and staff level roles are highly competitive with strong compensation, while junior hiring continues its post-2024 contraction. AI adjacent skills command a consistent 15 to 25% salary premium. So what does that tell you right out of the gate? It tells you you're going to have a difficult time through the interview process. The market landscape is highly competitive, even at a senior and staff level. Juniors, I'll get into the market analysis for them, but it's honestly not pretty. If you want to increase your salary, go learn AI and learn how to use it well, because that's easier said than done, and everybody on LinkedIn tells you to do that or avoid it entirely. One of the two. Never, here's how you use it well. And that's kind of one of the things I hope to walk people through in the next set of videos that I set out. Remote roles up 12% year over year, which is a reversal from the return to office trend. TypeScript and Rust combinations are showing an upswing. And I, as an engineer, I totally understand why. You get front end and sometimes middleware, depends, and back end that runs really, really fast, even on the edge. What's not to like about this combo? I mean, honestly, that's a great combo for any kind of event-driven architecture. That's amazing. So H-1B salary disclosures show medium software engineering compensation holding steady at $285K, which this is your Facebooks, your Apples, your Netflix, your Google. This is your Bay Area, so to speak, right? These are your high-end startups, right? Here's the bad news. Entry-level postings are down 31% from 2023. Bootcamp graduates are facing the toughest market in a decade, and honestly, if you're a junior who has been struggling and trying to deal with this market, like this is a heavy hitter right here, because this is nearly 1 in 3, y'all. That's incredible. So I just want to say for entry level folks, it's not entirely you if you're struggling, right? It's not a you thing. Don't take it personally. Don't feel bad about yourself or your market or your job prospects or decisions. Um, it says it right here. You're facing the toughest market in a decade. Okay, so don't feel like it's your fault. Moving on, Indeed, Glassdoor, ghost posting rates are estimated at 30 to 40%. So if you're on Indeed and Glassdoor, this research is telling you that you might not hear back at all. So don't be surprised, right? Like if you're pleasantly surprised, awesome. If Assay is wrong, amazing. But this at least let you brace for that impact of, hey, you might not hear anything back at all. AI tooling is preferred in 44% of engineering descriptions. The employers expect you to be capable and fluent with AI tooling now, y'all. Like, uh, there it is, 44%. It's expected. So if you are saying I refuse, I mean, yeah, that's 66% of jobs currently do not list this as preferred. That's important to highlight. But I mean, it's right there. It's part of the new reality. You're going to have to learn to use it or learn to live with it. I'm not saying learn to love it or anything like that, but how to exist in a world where agentic AI is common and in fact expected is a question we should all ask. The contract and 1099 market is expanding. 18% of postings are contract to hire versus 11% in 23. So this is just the market pulse. Let's go. All right, great. Where do I go looking for these jobs? That's the next question I asked, and I built a feature literally to go answer that question. And it tells me from the open data we pulled, 172,300 active postings across just kind of a handful of track boards. The best conversion rate right now, Hacker News, 8.7%. So you have the best chance of hearing back from an application from Hacker News. The most salary transparent is, if you value knowing what you could be getting into right out of the gate, go work for the government. They tell you 100% of the time what you're going to make. So go USA jobs. But if you don't want to work for the government, there's Remote OK, which 82%. Hacker News is 78%, and so on. LinkedIn is 41, Glassdoor at 35, and Indeed at 28. Let's take a look at conversion rate. How often can you expect to hear back? Hacker News, you're going to hear back 8.7%. Remote OK, 6.1. Now, this was interesting to me because I had been focusing my search exclusively on LinkedIn. And if you look at these numbers, 3.2% conversion rate from LinkedIn versus 8.7% of Hacker News. And what was interesting to me is I had focused my search entirely on LinkedIn. I hadn't even considered any of these above LinkedIn. Hacker News was definitely not on my radar, and I was really missing out there. Okay? So now let's scroll on down to the posting trend. And my hope here, we're not getting a lot of interesting data yet, but my hope here is that as I continue growing what Assay is, I'll be able to see seasonal patterns and trends across each of these boards. So that way I can target my search whenever I need to go looking, according to where the best jobs are, So this gives me a stats model of, here's the postings. Are we rising? Are we falling? Indeed and Glassdoor are showing signs of decline, according to the data that we pulled from, we pulled it from BLS, we pulled it from H1B disclosure data, Hacker News, Who's Hiring, Remote OK, Stack Overflow, and Google Trends. Okay. So yeah, Hacker News and Remote OK listed as rising. LinkedIn stable, same as it has been forever. Of course they are. They're one of the flagship job posting boards. Of course they're going to be stable. They're the big guys. Now look at this volume here. Now your Indeeds, your LinkedIn's, and your Adzuna here, they're your big guys, right? Like they're, of course the volume is going to be better, right? But these smaller boards, you can see they do yield higher conversion and salary transparency. These two are in this utility specifically because I care about these things. So that was interesting to me because I hadn't been looking on Hacker News. So the very next day, I went out and built a utility to go find and do deep analysis on any job or company that I flagged as interesting on Hacker News. I included built-in because that's one of my favorite boards. I included, actually, hang on, Remotive up right now. Who's hiring? Hacker News jobs boards, Remote OK, and I can filter these things as well, right? So now I'm going to go mine in the place it told me to mine, and I'm going to build a utility to do it for me. And this is one of the great things Agentic AI gives you as an individual. So that's one of the experiments I've been playing with on how to make it work for me, even in my own job search. To that end, every cool guy developer out there has their own portfolio page. I now have my own as well. It's nicholas-a-hall.github.io. And again, you can check out all kinds of different stuff I'm working on there and just, go poke around and explore. It is AI assisted. I'm a terrible self salesman, so I did use AI to help me. I specifically ordered it not to make anything up. Do not oversell anything. I don't want to be somebody who can't back up what I'm saying. Absolutely not. However, I do need to sound more confident than I genuinely am. So I imagine me as Tony Stark without an ego, I guess. Maybe DG brand, maybe Walmart discount brand, I guess. I don't know. My point is, I don't really have an attitude, but I can do all kinds of amazing things, I feel. And, my bread and butter is a place that feels like I'm working with a bunch of people over pizza, having a good time building a new product. That's enough about me. I wanted to take it back from the portfolio page back to the community. And this is something, it's currently called Backfence. I'm going to rename it. I don't like that name. But essentially, I wanted locals to be able to post their own jobs and services, kind of like Facebook Marketplace, but in a way that's a little bit more searchable. So let's say what I found was Google, I know there are more than 3 electricians in Hillsboro. This is what Google knows about, and so this is what the tool currently knows about. So we have a form where you can list your own service. You can tell us if you're seasonal or not, and we'll go index that for you. So we're putting AI at the forefront again. So as you describe what your business is, it comes and it extracts keywords to make it easily searchable, and we vet it with an admin portal. If we need, like, look, next bet service, I verified it, but yuck, I'm an engineer. I don't do pets $5 and I do it whenever. I'm not going with that guy, right? So let's say I need my furnace. So it's going to tell me, hey, look, here's 2 options that we find. Our rating system doesn't work on any kind of text. It's tell us how that business made you feel in 3 emojis, and we derive a ranking from that. You don't get to edit the stars independently, and you don't get to show up and trash talk a business. What you do is you keep telling people, hey, look, they did great. It was a neighbor-first utility that I've been meaning to build for years, and now armed with the information that I can pull from the internet, and I can use AI as a translation layer to help me understand complicated things in my own way. It's really empowering my day-to-day work. And so that's what I bring to the table. That's what I've been doing over the last 90 days. I really appreciate if you've stayed with me this long. I really appreciate it. Come see me either at my profile or if you want to engage me for a one off task. Hey, there's Section 33. Um, it's not live yet, but in the next 30 days from July 6th, within the next 30 days, look for section33.io to go live, where you can engage, if you like, you can engage my engineering skills on really any problem you like. If you tell me the problem, I'll create the tools. You don't have to speak engineer. It doesn't have to be a computer problem. It can be, hey, this thing really annoyed me today and I wish I didn't have to do it every day. Bring that stuff to me because that's what I love doing. And so if you stayed with me this long, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for your attention, and I'll get out of your hair. If you're interested in how I do any of these things, feel free to reach out and look out for more videos, YouTube videos, whatever, wherever I end up posting these. Look out for more in the future because I think I'm working with some cool stuff. What do you think?